Vromi continues demolition on Pond Island. Orange School celebrates 175 years with bell-ringing ceremony. Minister of Justice Natalie tackling on the police insurances. Nation update. Police appeal for dashcam footage. From the island, St. Martin. This is SXM Daily News for January 26, 2026. Minister Patrice Gums of the Ministry of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment and Infrastructure, VROMI, has stated that demolition has commenced and will continue on Sualiga Drive, Pond Island. Occupants of the land were informed in September that they needed to vacate by December. Though the original timeline for the demolition was slated for early December, the recent holiday period was considered, which resulted in the date being postponed to January 8th, and once again postponed and finally executed. Though notice of the demolition was given in September, construction was observed to have continued in October, resulting in stop removal orders, which were also ignored. The demolition operations, which began last week, are the result of a court verdict that upheld the validity of long lease on the parcel. Government must deliver said parcel free of structures, residents, or blockages. The focus of this demolition is on removing unauthorized structures, including multiple shacks, containers, abandoned vehicles, fencing, and gates on the property. This action follows months of advance notice to occupants and stakeholders, said Minister of VROMI Patrice Gums. We have been communicating since September that this demolition will take place. When the teams arrived on January 8th to execute, the decision was taken to give additional time to have the residents remove their belongings. Upon return, the site was still occupied, signaling that the notices of demolition weren't taken seriously, and that's very unfortunate. But at that stage, government has to execute the order of the court. Before beginning demolition work, comprehensive documentation was completed, including photographic records of all structures. Inspectors conducted site assessments, and all relevant stakeholders, including GIBI and KPSM, were present to ensure safe and coordinated execution of the work. Minister Gums also clarified that the area of demolition does not fall within the project scope of the Emergency Debris Management Project, EDMP, and therefore there is no question of compensation. Furthermore, contrary to reports, all established project-affected persons, PAPs, have been appropriately compensated. I want to thank the KPSM and all cooperating agencies whose presence and support enabled the safe execution of this operation. Gums continued. He also thanked the departments within VROMI for their coordination. Demolition activities will continue at the site this week. Minister of Justice Natalie tackling on the police insurances. Since there still seems to be a lot of misinformation being put out under the law, specifically Article 114 of the Exposit SEBA slides for the police officers are always legally protected. So, if an officer is injured, loses their life while lawfully performing their duties, the government of St. Martin is legally obligated to provide compensation. This obligation applies at all times, and it does not depend on whether an insurance policy is in place. The insurance does not create the rights of the worker. The rights of the worker comes from the law. Insurance is a tool that the government uses to mitigate our risk if something happens.
Wanted to also clarify an issue that has raised questions in recent weeks, which is namely to do with the insurance of justice workers. I've sent letters to the union on this matter. I've also addressed Parliament on this matter, but still it exists, and I want to just take this moment then to speak directly to the public and speak directly to the justice staff, since there still seems to be a lot of misinformation being put out. So under the law, specifically Article 114 of the Rechtspositiebesluit for the police, police officers are always legally protected. So if an officer is injured, loses their life while lawfully performing their duties, the government of St. Martin is legally obligated to provide compensation. This obligation applies at all times, and it does not depend on whether an insurance policy is in place. The insurance does not create the right of the worker. The right itself of the worker comes from the law. The insurance is a tool that government uses to leverage our risk in the event that something happens. So I want to just be clear, we're not putting anybody's lives at risk. The government remains liable at all times, whether or not there's an insurance policy. So then I also wanted to give some background. The lapse in insurance coverage occurred during a period when the policy, the legislation, and the financing were being aligned. So back in October 2022, the then Council of Ministers decided to limit insurance coverage to frontline high-risk functions and to have the government carry the full cost of that insurance. In 2023, while the Ministry of Justice was preparing a tender for a new insurance policy, it became clear that this policy decision was not yet fully aligned with the draft Rechtspositiebesluit that was being negotiated. The tender, therefore, could not proceed until a formal agreement was reached with the unions regarding what that package had to look like. That agreement came in the third quarter of 2023, by which time that previous insurance had already expired. In 2024, the ministry conducted an inventory of frontline personnel to be covered and explored funding options, including the crime fund. However, the Ministry of Finance at the time denied this request and told the ministry that they could not use the crime fund to purchase this insurance. That meant that a budgetary reservation had to be made, which also took some time. The file went up to the governor, it came back, and so we were in a position now where we were working with a policy on 2024, so we said, look, the insurance obligation exists. What we'll do now is focus on an insurance coverage for 2026. And again, that coverage simply is meant to hedge and leverage any liability on government side. Because of course, if something catastrophic were to happen, then the question is, where will government have those finances? But again, that insurance there is for the risk of government, not an individual right of the employee themselves. Then there's also a distinction when it comes to frontline personnel. So every ministry was asked in 2024, and we now have to update those lists. Who are frontline personnel within your ministry? So not because you wear a uniform means that you are a frontline worker. So it really is a matter of giving insurance to those individuals who are at risk. Then, of course, the Rechtspositiebesluit only covers a certain group of justice workers, namely, as I said, the police, our national detectives, and a portion of our immigration border control. However, we do see an added value in providing insurance for our prison workers, the court of guardianship, any other individual who places themselves in a high-risk position. Of course, while the Rechtspositiebesluit says that the government remains responsible liable for anything that happens, similarly, if anything happens to another civil servant in the line of duty, from a civil code perspective and a civil law perspective, government as the employer would also be liable for any harm or so caused to that individual. But again, to leverage that risk, we want to cover everybody within the ministry that has a high-risk job and is putting themselves in danger or at risk whenever they're conducting their work. So with that in mind, we're currently working since the end of last year to publish a new tender. We've asked SOAB to assist the ministry in order to conduct that procedure and, of course, to obtain different quotes and get a new assessment because, again, this is not a small amount of money, so we need to be able to tender an insurance policy such as this. So that process is ongoing, but the goal is to have all frontline at-risk workers within the ministry be covered for the year 2026. We're also working with the Ministry of Finance on that.
The Minister of Public Health, Social Development and Labour hereby informs the public that an interim Inspector General has been appointed, effective February 2nd, 2026, for a period of two years. After several years during which the Inspectorate of Public Health, Social Development and Labour, IVSA, operated without a permanent Inspector General, this appointment represents a significant and long-awaited step toward restoring effective oversight and enforcement. Minister Brugge expresses his satisfaction that this long-standing matter has now been resolved and that continuity and leadership have been secured within this critical supervisory institution. Minister Brugge also extends sincere appreciation to Dr. Daphne Illis, who served temporarily as Acting Inspector General. In addition, special thanks are extended to Ms. Fenna Arnell and the entire Department of Public Health, whose dedication and perseverance were instrumental in ensuring that despite numerous challenges, the Inspectorate is once again under formal leadership. It is important to note that the prolonged vacancy was largely the result of structural constraints embedded in outdated legislation. Under current law, the Inspector General must be a qualified medical doctor or pharmacist. The appointed Interim Inspector General, Dr. Alcala, was born and raised in Curaçao and studied medicine at the University of Groningen in the Netherlands. He brings extensive professional experience within the Caribbean region and has previously served as Interim Inspector General, equipping him with the expertise and contextual understanding required to lead during a period of reform. In his capacity as Interim Inspector General, Dr. Alcala will provide strategic leadership and independent oversight to IVSA. His appointment forms part of a broader reform agenda focused on strengthening governance, enhancing supervisory capacity, and ensuring that laws and standards protecting workers, patients, and vulnerable populations are consistently and effectively upheld.
Are you SXM insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXM is cardless. Request your My SXM account today and enter the virtual office of SXM. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah. Your social and health insurances.
SCV Social and Health Insurances will officially launch Senior Priority Hours on Wednesday, January 28, 2026, a new service designed to improve accessibility and client support for persons aged 60 and above. Senior Priority Hours will allow seniors to visit SCV without an appointment, every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday between 10 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. During these walk-in hours, seniors can receive personal assistance with their benefits such as pension, 62+ medical insurance, submitting documents, accessing SCV online services, and more. The Senior Priority Hours will be coordinated by the Customer Care Department and available in the Client Service area in Building 3, Floor 1 of the SCV office, located in the Harborview Building in Phillipsburg. Although SCV was already providing in-person assistance to seniors, this new initiative goes beyond dedicated hours, says Marenica Arindel, Manager Customer Care at SCV. We are working to create a more comfortable and supportive experience for our clients when accessing SZV services. In the coming weeks, the Pension Department services will also permanently move to the client service area located in Building 3, Floor 1, an important change to improve overall service delivery by having the majority of senior services available at one central location. SEV will also be upgrading the client service area to improve seating arrangements, create dedicated spaces to assist clients with accessing SCV online services, introduce a new ticketing system to maintain short waiting times, and establish an overall refreshed and more welcoming atmosphere that supports a better service experience for all visiting clients. For inquiries regarding SZV services and senior priority hours, contact SZV by email at info@szv.sx or by phone at +1 721 546 6782. Phone lines are open Monday, Friday from 7:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. daily. General information is also available via .sv.sx and SV's social media channels on Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp channel, and LinkedIn. Orange School marked its 175th anniversary on January 21, 2026, with a historic celebration that included a commemorative bell-ringing ceremony symbolizing each year of the school's service and educational excellence. The milestone event, themed Celebrating 175 Years, Strong Past, Bold Future, brought together students, staff, alumni, parents, government officials, and community members. The day began with a Thanksgiving worship service at the Phillipsburg Methodist Church, featuring prayer, scripture, music, and student performances. Past student Charles E. Rowland delivered the opening prayer, and the congregation joined in singing the St. Martin's Song and the Orange School Song. Students of all grade levels performed inspiring musical and dance presentations, reflecting the school's long-standing commitment to academic excellence and character development. Speakers included school manager Minerva Marlin Cooper, Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, ECYS, Melissa Gums, and Head of the Department of Public Education, Dason Marks. Each highlighted Orange School's enduring contribution to national development over the past 175 years. Willemstad, Minister of Finance. Charles Cooper has formally requested that the Aljamain Rekenkama Curaçao withdraw and amend its final report on the 2023 annual accounts of the country of Curaçao. According to Cooper, the report contains factual and material inaccuracies and was produced following an insufficiently careful hearing and rebuttal process. In a letter addressed to the Audit Chamber, Cooper writes that the government took note of the report on the 2023 annual accounts with great concern and disappointment. He argues that several findings and the conclusions derived from them are factually and substantively incorrect. The minister states that during the hearing and rebuttal phase, the government submitted a detailed written response to the draft report, including substantive arguments and references to relevant facts, documents, and supporting evidence. Despite this, Cooper says the final report was not amended on several key points. According to Cooper, the hearing and rebuttal process also lacked sufficient transparency. He notes that the government explicitly requested insight prior to publication of the final report, into which parts of the government's response had been adopted and which had not, as well as the reasoning behind those decisions. That request, he says, was not honored.
tonight through Tuesday midday. Partly cloudy to occasionally cloudy and slightly breezy with isolated showers likely. Surface winds, today through Tuesday midday, easterly with a gentle to moderate breeze at 8 to 16 m/m and possible higher gusts. State of the sea, slight to moderate waves, swells 3 to 7 feet. Outlook through Wednesday midday, fair to partly cloudy with isolated showers possible. And now your 3-day forecast.
SXM, your social and health insurance. SXM, your social and health insurances.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah, your social and health insurances.
Nation News reporting from the Barbados Police Service is appealing for drivers with dash cams who may have been travelling along the Lazaretto Road in St. Michael between 10:50 a.m. and 11:15 a.m. to reach out to them. A man was shot and killed in the car park at the Usain Bolt Sports Complex during that time frame, and the suspect made good his escape. Inspector Rayan Brathwaite spoke to the media.
The Police Operations Control Room received a report from a female caller about 11:16 a.m. She stated that a man was shot in a vehicle in the area of the Usain Bolt complex here at the Lazaretto in St. Michael. Police responded to the area and found the lifeless body of a male seated in a vehicle. Police sought medical assistance for that individual. A medical doctor visited the scene, examined the body, and pronounced death. Our investigations so far have shown that this male would have driven into the area sometime during the morning and was approached by a male wearing a black t-shirt and a black three-quarter pants. Gunshots were heard and that male was seen running away from the area. Now, we're appealing to anyone who may have been in the area, who would have traveled along the coast road, coming towards Usain Bolt or going away from Usain Bolt, who may have seen this male and could assist the police with this investigation. To please contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-8477, Police Emergency at 211, or the Black Rock Police Station at 417-7500 or 417-7501. Now, even if your car is fitted with a dash cam, that could be of some assistance. Remember that this incident occurred anyway around 11 o'clock. So if you were on that roadway between 10:50 a.m. and let's say 11:15 a.m., your assistance will be greatly appreciated.
BBC News report, the Trump administration is facing pressure to launch a full investigation into the second Minneapolis killing by federal agents in 2 weeks, as one Republican governor says, enough is enough. US President Donald Trump told the Wall Street Journal his administration is reviewing everything, and also indicates he could eventually withdraw agents from the city. But he's given no time frame. Alex Pretty, a 37-year-old US citizen, was shot dead on Saturday after an incident with federal agents.
A growing number of politicians from President Trump's Republican Party are joining calls for a full investigation following the second fatal shooting this month by US federal immigration agents in Minneapolis. Thousands of people have been marching through the city to protest against the killing. The Trump administration insists that Alex Pretty, who is 37, was planning to assault officers, while local officials say that makes no sense because videos of the incident do not show him brandishing a gun. The former Democratic President Barack Obama said the shooting was a heartbreaking tragedy and should be a wake-up call. He also accused the Trump administration of offering explanations which video evidence appeared to contradict. His predecessor, Bill Clinton, has described the events in Minneapolis as horrible scenes that I never thought would take place in America. Well, let's get more now from Tom Bateman, who's in Minneapolis, and a warning: you might find some of the scenes in his report distressing.
Mourners have been returning to the spot where Alex Pretty was killed, the second American shot dead by immigration officers in a month in Minneapolis. They lay claim to his legacy in what has become a battle with the Trump administration over both values and narrative. The state's Democrat governor, Tim Walz, appealed to the country to choose.
I've got a question for all of you. What side do you want to be on? The side of an all-powerful federal government that can kill, injure, menace, and kidnap its citizens off the streets? Or on the side of a nurse at the VA hospital who died bearing witness to such government?
But the man now known on the streets for fronting Mr. Trump's deportation drive was doubling down.
I would implore upon any individuals, whether they're anarchists, rioters, or anyone else that thinks it wise to go into a law enforcement scene to disrupt, to delay, is to don't do that.
Several videos show the moments leading up to Mr. Pretty's death. Pushed and pepper sprayed and wrestled to the ground, agents then appeared to disarm him of a handgun, which police say he had a permit to carry, before immigration agents shot him multiple times. Alex Pretty was 37, an intensive care nurse who treated sick military veterans. His family says the administration's version of him is totally untrue.
He cared about people deeply, and he was very upset with what was happening in Minneapolis and throughout the United States.
A call for justice here faces the full counterweight of the Trump administration, accusing a city of inciting an insurrection. Divisions laid bare in blood, and Minneapolis mourns again. Tom Bateman, BBC News, Minnesota.
Well, the BBC's Carl Nasman is also in Minneapolis.
This city now grieving for the second time in just a matter of weeks. You can see behind me, this is the memorial to Alex Pretty. This is the site, of course, where that altercation took place. And throughout the day, we've seen hundreds of people coming here to pay their respects, leave flowers and messages and light candles. This all coming less than 3 weeks after the death of Renee Good. And amid the protests, amid the vigils, there's now a political battle brewing over who's to blame for the chaos in this city. We've heard the Trump administration placing that blame at the feet of local lawmakers. They say they are stoking these protests, encouraging people to block ICE activity here, which is designed, they say, to remove dangerous criminals from the city. On the other hand, officials like Tim Walz, the Democratic governor of the state, blames Donald Trump and his immigration policy. But I do think it's notable that we're now hearing from some high-profile Republican lawmakers, these are senators, now questioning some of these ICE tactics and calling for an independent investigation into this latest shooting. One senator putting it very simply that the credibility of ICE is at stake.
Well, BBC Verify has analysed videos of the shooting from multiple angles, piecing together a detailed picture of what happened. Ros Atkins' report contains footage which, again, you may find distressing.
The first video we have of Alex Pretty, he's in the road, holding a phone and talking with a federal agent. The officer pushes him, and he steps backwards. Kristi Noem is US Homeland Security Secretary. This is her account of why Alex Pretty died.
An individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently.
But in this video, as in others, Alex Pretty had nothing in one hand, a phone in the other. We see two people interacting with an agent. We then see an agent push one of those people, then push the second person. Alex Pretty steps between them and the agent and is pepper sprayed. He's wrestled to the ground by a number of agents. He's on his knees, bent over. His hands are on the floor, and he's struggling against being held down. One agent repeatedly strikes in the direction of his head. And take note of this agent. He has nothing in his right hand, reaches down, and removes what appears to be a gun from Alex Pretty's waistband. Then he steps back, holding the pistol, which appears to match this image shared by the authorities. Carrying this type of gun is legal in Minnesota with a valid permit. The police say they believe Alex Pretty had one. Less than a second after the gun is removed, an agent fires the first shot. As Alex Pretty lies motionless, further shots are fired while agents are standing clear of his body. In total, 10 shots were fired in 5 seconds. In all of these videos, we don't see Alex Pretty holding a gun. But once more, we have seen an American killed in the street by federal agents, followed by the Trump administration making claims about what happened.
Lowell Fillmore Sly Dunbar, the legendary drummer and co-founder of the groundbreaking Taxi Records label, has died at the age of 73. His wife, Thelma Dunbar, confirmed that he passed away at home earlier today. About 7 o'clock this morning, I went to wake him up, and he wasn't responding. I called the doctor, and that was the news, she told the Jamaica Gleaner, speaking through tears. Sly had been battling health issues for some time, and was receiving treatment both locally and overseas. Yesterday was such a good day for him, Thelma said. He had friends over to visit, and we all had such a good time. He ate well yesterday. Sometimes he's not into food. I knew he was sick, but I didn't realize it was this serious. Born on May 10, 1952, Dunbar made his mark as one half of Sly and Robbie, the iconic rhythm duo often credited with shaping the sound of modern reggae and dancehall. His musical partner, bassist Robbie Shakespeare, passed away in 2021. Together, the pair were known as the Rhythm Twins and became synonymous with Jamaica's global reggae influence. Dunbar began his musical journey at 15 with the band The Yardbrooms and made his first recording appearance on the Dave and Ansel Collins album Double Barrel. He later joined Ansel Collins' band Skin, Flesh and Bones. Drawing inspiration from drumming legends such as Lloyd Knibb of the Skaterlights and Al Jackson Jr. of Booker T and the MGs, Dunbar developed a distinctive style that would influence generations of musicians. This is our SXM Daily Newscast. Thank you for joining us.